We got a message to the Destiny community. This is a lengthy video. Respect to the guy who said smode to thee.
This is a video that I've gone back and forth on making for, God, a couple years now. I never made it because I thought, well, there was no point. But I think it's finally time to be a bit more direct and just talk. This video is going to be less edited than usual and is bound to get a bit rambly, so apologies in advance. The Destiny community has gotten, and let's be real, has been pretty damn toxic in recent years. Before I go down this rabbit hole, let me preface this by saying that this is absolutely not a problem unique to Destiny. As a matter of fact, you could probably take everything I say in this video and apply it to pretty much whatever online community you'd like. Also, when I refer to the Destiny community, I'm not referring to everyone. It's just the quickest way for me to refer to the online discourse that is so commonly fostered here on YouTube and anywhere else you may talk about Destiny or consume Destiny media. Also, this video is not meant to call out any one person in particular. I'm not here to start beef, quite the opposite. Will I make references and take light jabs? Maybe. But this isn't meant to be a drama starter, rather a discussion. So let's just get to the meat of the bones here. People seem to really love to hate Destiny and Bungie. This reads true for not only people who are here right now playing the game, but also people who claim to have not played the game in X number of years or months. And you all probably know who I'm talking about. The keyboard warriors that flock to the comment sections only to complain about a game that they claim to not care about anymore or haven't played in 8 months. Now, let me make this very clear because I can literally see some of you typing your comments right now. Destiny and Bungie are not immune to criticism. I have talked for many hours in streams about things I'd like to see fixed, added, or adjusted in Destiny 2, as well as my opinions on certain studio controversies. You don't need me to tell you that plagiarism is fucking wrong. Let me also say that I understand the claims that Bungie hasn't built up enough goodwill with the community recently. I think that's actually pretty reasonable to say in some cases. However, that being said, the amount of self-sabotage I see in this community has gotten so absurd that it's impossible to ignore anymore. Nowadays, it seems like all anyone wants to do is whine and complain and engagement farm. Everywhere you look, you see videos about how Destiny is dying, how can we save Destiny 2, thumbnails that say this is bad with a big red box behind the word bad. You would not be crazy to believe that all of these people online who play Destiny or make livings off of Destiny don't actually seem to like the game very much, and in some cases, don't seem to care about the influence that they have on its fan base. And do you know the crazy thing? This happens every single year. You know why? Because Destiny is a cyclical game, and it always has been. It's almost like every year we go through the same hype cycle because it reflects the content release schedule that Bungie tends to follow, something that this year they're trying to break. Low periods and high periods are literally nothing new, yet we talk about them ad nausea as if they are. And again, I'm not necessarily trying to call anyone out. However, I think a lot of people talk about these things and make this kind of content because it's easy, it appeals to the current player sentiment that they themselves help to foster, and it makes, say it with me now, money. And a lot of it. I joked before that it seems like a lot of people online have an abusive or toxic relationship with Destiny. Statements like, I quit Destiny 2, or meh, too bad I uninstalled and quit 2 months ago. I just can't help but find these sorts of statements pretty ridiculous and overdramatic. People talk about Destiny like smokers talk about cigarettes, or like League players talk about anything. No game is meant to captivate your attention 24/7, 365 days out of the year. I mean, sure, maybe the publishers would really like for that to happen, but that's just not the reality of any game, ever. You know what I do when Destiny isn't bringing me as much joy as something else? I take a break and do something else.
This is a moment in history! Take a picture!
This doesn't make me any less of a Destiny fan. I just have a healthy relationship with the game. Well,
So to pause and to paraphrase some of the stuff he's saying right now. So he's saying that he's kind of framing it as though the Destiny community is very toxic and has a lot of negativity, which is just true. Like you said, isn't a lot of games it's like that. But I think that where does that come from is kind of the real issue at hand. And I think that the reason why the toxicity is more rampant now and the voices of anger and outrage are louder now than ever before, it comes from something. It doesn't just to just say, well, you're just a bunch of toxic assholes and you don't know what you're talking about and you don't know you would just be angry for no reason, or that you'd be angry no matter what. Is it's not a very fair way to put it, in my opinion. I think that the rampant toxicity and negativity stems from Bungie's poor development and Bungie's poor direction of the game. I don't think that you could just attribute all of the negativity to, well, the community's bad, or, well, gaming communities are filled with a bunch of assholes. I think that that type of framing of the whole situation continues to perpetuate the patterns that Bungie has been doing for years that's gotten us to this point. And when you kind of put this energy and this message out there, it's very positive and nice. I mean, nothing against Toadsmooth. I know he means well by it, but I think that what you do is you kind of enable Bungie to feel like, okay, well, it's not our fault. We're doing fine. It's just the community. They're a bunch of, they're angry, they're outraged. And I really think you're doing a big disservice by trying to take all the noise that the community has and all the energy they have and say, you're just a bunch of angry idiots. I don't think that you're really going to appeal to a wider audience when you do that. I think that you should really be like, okay, everyone's angry. Why is that so? What is it stemming from? And a lot of it is just that Bungie's developmental decisions over Destiny 2 have been super frustrating to players that really want to play this game and really want to be excited for new things. And there's just no way around it. And yes, there is a sort of cycle to Destiny where there's like new exciting things, and then towards the end it gets pretty bad and people kind of say, oh, Destiny is dying, right? And that is a true thing, that's kind of a low-hanging fruit for content where you're like, oh, Destiny's dying. But what happens when that same pattern that happens, that same cyclical pattern happens, but the low points are lower than ever before year after year, and the high points are lower than the high points of the previous year, right? Now you actually have like verifiable data to support the idea that Destiny is diminishing to some degree. And it's not meant to just be overtly negative. It's meant to just be honest to the situation. I mean, Paul Tassi, he's a journalist that reports on this. Azzacross talks on this. A lot of people that have very reputable, perceptions of what Destiny is, where Destiny is at right now, are saying, Bungie's messing up. The community's super mad, and Destiny is experiencing lower lows than they've ever experienced. And I think that when you attribute that to just, everyone's just a bunch of angry assholes, the game's great. I strongly disagree with this opinion, basically, is what I'm saying. I know he means well, and he's putting it in a very nice way. There's nothing against him, but I strongly disagree with this opinion.
About as healthy as I can, being a Destiny content creator, you get the point. My brother is actually a great example of this. He's a Destiny fan, he's really good at the game, but he really only plays around the big expansions because that's what interests him, which is fine. It may sound like I'm arguing semantics here, but if your chosen verbiage is "I quit" as opposed to "I took a break," that tells me that you kept trying to force yourself to enjoy something that you weren't actually having fun with anymore. I don't think that's Destiny's problem. I think that's your problem. Let me be clear. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that Bungie couldn't do more to keep players engaged, or that there aren't things I'd change about the game to make it a bit more enjoyable for myself and hopefully all of you out there. I'm simply making the point that, like most everything else in life, this situation is not black and white. It's not that one-sided. This over-dramatization and hate baiting is something I think us content creators have a massive influence on. I mean, you don't call them influencers for no reason, right? Raise your hand if the majority of the Destiny videos in your feed have some sort of negatively charged title or thumbnail. It seems like even us content creators just want to keep the negative press and vibes flowing. And
if you were to be positive at this point in time, that would be another example, like I've said before, of just toxic positivity and not really reading the room very well and understanding the situation that Bungie's in. We can all just sit around and say, kumbaya and everything's going to be good in the edge of fate. But in reality, when we're actually analyzing the population decline, the system, what's meant to be the hype of the new expansion, and we're kind of felt with this like feeling of emptiness where we're like, why are we getting so little, or why does it feel so empty? Those are real feelings, and people are going to report the news. This is something that Destiny Bulletin has talked about a lot because people criticize them, but people are going to report the news, whether it's good or bad. I would much prefer to report good news for Destiny 2, but it's very disingenuous to say, well, you either report good news or you just don't talk about Destiny. I think that's a really odd thing. Like, you're going to talk about the negative things, and you could say that that's an unhealthy relationship maybe, or that that's toxicity, but really it's just negative news. I think a lot of people just can't really handle the negativity. Like, they don't understand it well, they don't process it well. They think that, you know, when you say like anything bad about Bungie, that you're, or that anything bad about the current state of Destiny 2, that you are toxic in some way, but that's not really the case. You can talk about, you can say, you like, for example, today's live stream brought nothing new or interesting, but that doesn't mean that the next live stream is going to be shitty, right? Like, today's Bungie's Edge of Fate reveal stream was terrible. It was just, they just talked about everything that the content creators already talked about. It was objectively terrible. Everyone on social media said it was terrible. That doesn't mean that the next one has to be terrible. It's just, if it is terrible, we're being honest to the situation. It's actually really bad when people who want us to be positive or shut up try to, you know, hijack the conversations. I strongly disagree with this type of rhetoric. And I know it comes from a nice place. Like, we're just like, just be, you know, have something nice to say or don't say anything at all, as an age-old expression, right? But I don't think that you're going to convince people in Destiny 2 to do that, especially when you have freedom of speech, you know, the ability to say whatever you want. People are going to roast or criticize the game, or they're going to love the game. You have to win them over. Like, you got to win them over.
Do you know why? Say it with me now. It gets views. I recently made a community post highlighting a prime example.
The part of the problem with that, so what you're saying is that all of the negativity gets views, and so therefore what you're basically putting on people that say negative things or make negative videos, that they're doing it from a disingenuous place. They're just doing it to get views, and they don't genuinely believe those opinions. You know, like, they don't genuinely believe that today's live stream for the Edge of Fate was terrible. You know, everyone's just tweeting it because they'll get a bunch of likes if they tweet the negativity, right? That's a really dangerous road to go down, because you're basically saying that, you know, everything Bungie does is good and everything Bungie does is perfect. And people who are being negative, well, they're just doing it to get views. It's not good. I know he meant well with this, but again, I strongly disagree with this type of rhetoric.
Of this from Mr. Raffle Waffles. Now, full big old important disclaimer up front. This is absolutely not me hating on Milo. I've been a fan of his since Black Ops 3, and I still am. He did absolutely nothing wrong here, so do not get the wrong idea. This is just a way for me to demonstrate my point. After visiting Bungie HQ, Mr. Raffle Waffles posted 2 videos, one titled Everything I Loved About Edge of Fate, and another titled Everything I Hated About Edge of Fate. Same title structure, exact same thumbnail, even the same length. The only difference was that one word, and obviously the contents of the video. You all see where I'm going with this. The negative video got considerably more views than the positive video. This really shouldn't have surprised or disappointed me.
And to go back to this is an excellent point about Mr. Waffle's video here. So he does talk about, you know, I haven't watched these videos, but presumably he talks about everything that he loved in Edge of Fate, like the things that he enjoyed. And then he talked about everything he hated. And he's being genuine in both of these videos. Whether one gets more views than the other really shouldn't matter much. We might take interest in which one gets more views, and we might think that that would then push him to be more negative. But that makes you think that Mr. Waffles is a bad actor or a bad person. And I really don't think that that should be a narrative push at all. I'm sure he's not like that, it seems like. But both videos are just a genuine opinion of the game. And by, I guess, this definition, he shouldn't have made the one that he hated, because then he's just doing it for views. Like, yikes.
Shouldn't have surprised or disappointed me, but somehow it did. And I know, this is just how people and the internet especially are, but doesn't that suck? Doesn't it suck that far more people just want to hear all the reasons they should dislike something rather than all the great things it could have to offer? To some of you, it might seem like I'm reading way too far into this example, but I feel like this is a great way to demonstrate how these vibes and viewer tendencies can cascade and turn into what seems like a never-ending cycle of negativity. I should also say that there are some negativity spikes that are a lot more deserved and understandable than others. I'm not trying to say that the community rallying behind something negative is inherently a bad thing. But, like I said earlier, and like Dado also astutely pointed out once, although I can't exactly remember where, why do content creators keep making negative videos? Well, because they keep outperforming literally everything else. Before this, I made another community post asking for some advice on a thumbnail of mine for a video. I had 4 thumbnail options, 2 of which were actually real thumbnails that I was considering, and the other 2 were complete jokes that were just riffing on the current thumbnail meta that we find ourselves in on YouTube. Thumbnails that bait you in on a negative emotion, hoping you will either strongly agree with it and want to watch me bash on something else you hate, or that you'll strongly disagree and want to see why I'm making such a claim. I thought that I had made it pretty obvious that I was joking, but some people didn't quite get it. I got multiple comments saying that 3 and 4 seems like the more honest thumbnails, and like my true feelings towards the Griffin, which I find incredibly ironic, because they couldn't be further from the truth. I love the Griffin Sparrow. The thumbnail was not honest, not even close. It was just more extreme and appealed to a stronger emotion, so you may assume that it's the more honest thumbnail. If I didn't care as much, I easily could have just made that the thumbnail, been a bit more sour toward the Sparrow, got more views, and called it a day. But I personally don't think that's the responsible thing to do. I don't personally believe that all of these negative videos out there are quite as honest or full-throated as the thumbnail and title may lead you to believe. But that first impression, that's important. One of these videos could come through my feed, and even if I don't watch it, on some level that impression has stuck with me. And if I'm a casual viewer or enjoyer of the game, then after enough of these negative impressions, yeah, I'm probably just gonna check out and succumb to these feelings even if they aren't my own, or, let's keep it a brick here, even if they're oftentimes blown out of proportion.
So the idea he's proposing here is that because content creators make negative videos because it gets views, then that is negatively impacting player retention and population potentially in Destiny 2, right? So kind of like a negative cycle that's being created, which might very well be the case. I'm not saying it's not. I don't know that there's a way to like objectively create evidence one way or the other, but I think more so than that is like Destiny 2 being kind of not particularly enthusiastic to play is probably a bigger indicator than YouTubers making this as bad thumbnails, if I'm being honest. Like I think that is significantly more impactful to players not playing Destiny 2. The game not intriguing them, the game not appealing to them, the game them being very fatigued from lack of content, lack of new updates, lack of exciting things to do, right? A good example is Rise of the Nine came out. It was something new. It had potential. It didn't deliver very well in regards to the loot and the weapons. So we've seen accordingly a very big reduction in player population. If it was different, if the weapons were all, I don't know, tier 5 weapons instead of tier 3 in the Edge of Fate, or had something, you know, very special about them, you'd probably see the exact opposite happen. And everyone would be like, oh my God, we need to grind the Rise of the Nine to get ready for Edge of Fate, right? So I think that's a significantly stronger indicator than just this is bad thumbnails.
I want to make it clear that this isn't me saying we should be happy and positive all the time, even when something bad happens. But come on, you are straight kidding yourself if you can't admit that people seem to have a real hate boner for this franchise to some degree. I mean, the internet in general just tends to be pretty bitter. Pyro cynical, moist critical, I hate everything. I'm not hating on these guys at all. I actually watch their content from time to time. I'm simply pointing out the obvious, and that is that the internet, and by extension, a large part of the Destiny community, is drawn to negativity like moths to a flame. The unfortunate thing is that it's not hard to cultivate a healthy, positive audience of people who also enjoy the thing you enjoy. In my time,
I think that he's very wrong in that in some ways, because while the internet is negative, you look at other games that have such a different perception of them. It's like you've got like Warframe and everyone's really enjoying that game. You have, obviously we're just talking about Death Stranding 2 came out, everyone's calling it 10 out of 10. There's countless games that are very beloved by their, you know, seasoned franchise, you know, players. And there are some games that are very hated, you know, and I don't know if the hate comes from just a negative community. You know, I guess This Is Bad thumbnails really ruined it for Destiny 2, but I would genuinely believe that it came more from Bungie's lack of enthusiasm. You know, countless games have really positive communities. And I guess maybe it's very polarizing. Yeah, it's all love or all hate, but there's a lot of games that are in the middle that are relatively people are indifferent about, I guess. But Destiny 2 just has a lot of negativity. I really think that putting all of that on the content creators making This Is Bad thumbnails, it probably contributes some to that, but the percentage would be so small. It would be less than, in my mind, less than 5%. It would be something so extremely small what that contributes to. Because the biggest part is just how is Bungie developing this game? How are they developing this game? You could start, let me give you a good example. You could start making This Is Bad thumbnails in Warframe all you want. You're not going to get a ton of views. You're not going to get a ton of people behind you because people fucking love Warframe. You think they're going to be like, oh my God, this is it, dude. We're starting to hate play Warframe. Like, no, it's not going to happen that way. It's not going to work out for you like you think it will. It will only work in a game where people in the community have that negative sentiment and that resentment towards the developer or the game because they feel like they've done them wrong in some way.
I'm on YouTube, I've made a very conscious effort to build a fun and inviting community. Not one that is allergic to criticizing the game, but one that doesn't prioritize the negativity and feed into the hyperbolic hate. I am adamant that your audience as a creator is a direct reflection of you and what kind of audience you want to build. I make videos that put fun first, good vibes and laughs. I'll occasionally speak my mind on something that's bothering me, whether it's on stream or in a video, but it's never the point. When times get tough and player counts reach their yearly low point, I don't make a video about it that will ultimately make the problem worse in the long run. I instead try to take that time to experiment, try something new, hell, maybe even take a break. I'm not saying this to make it seem like I'm better than everyone else, not at all. And it is a good thing to have more commentary-focused channels that do address the things that happen in and around the Destiny space. I'm not saying that everyone should just do what I do. I have a large amount of respect for the people and creators in this community. My problem here is that the frequency and presentation, keyword there, presentation of these much more negative videos is just exhausting, and it's not helpful. The way you present a video is incredibly important. Sometimes more important than what you actually say in the video, because not everyone is going to watch the whole thing, and not everyone has that same level of nuance that you might think you have. I'm saying this all because I want you to understand where I'm coming from. I just like to try and set a good example along with so many other great members and creators here. People like G-Miners, CB Gray, Cyberprime, Crips, Abaddon, Anko, and many others. Some of you watching this may decide to give content creation a shot, or maybe you just enjoy Destiny 2. Maybe you have your criticisms, but you tend to lean positively because that's just what you like. Or maybe you've stopped yourself from engaging in online discourse or conversations because it feels like stepping into an active war zone. I know I have. I want you to know that you're not alone. There is a large part of this community that sort of just tends to stay quiet. Everyone else is so loud that speaking your mind or sometimes even just continuing to enjoy the thing that you enjoy doesn't seem worth it. But I want you to know that your opinion matters. Your feelings aren't invalid, and it is perfectly okay to enjoy Destiny or any game, movie, or TV show the way you enjoy it and when you want to enjoy it. Because you and I, we remember that video games are supposed to be fun. They're not supposed to feel like a full-time job. And to my future content creators in here, lead by example. Foster the space and community that reflects you and be the change or the influence that you want to see. As overwhelming as it may seem, just because the internet's lust for conflict and hate is abundant, that doesn't make it normal. And if you're happy, then you're probably doing something right. Well, that was a lot. And definitely not my usual style of video. Don't worry, this isn't going to become a regular thing for me. I've just had this whole thing on my mind for a while and really just wanted to get it out there. Edge of Fate is right around the corner and I'm pretty excited. I'm not sure when this video is going to go out, but I'll be on vacation for a little bit leading up to the next expansion. Regardless, I look forward to the Year of Prophecy and the
All right, so that was the video, A Message to the Destiny Community by Toad Smoothie. And, you know, like I said earlier, I think everyone is entitled to have their own opinions and how they feel about it, about content creation in general, or about how people approach the content that they put out there, the energy that they put out there, the messages. And his big thing was that the presentation of content during the end cycle of Destiny is always overtly negative. You know, Destiny is dying videos, and you know, the population is getting so low and things of that nature, right? Definitely, he's saying in the long run affect things in a negative way. But that is genuine commentary. I mean, it is genuinely a conversation that can be had. And I think that while he is okay to feel the way he feels, I do think that I would say I believe the opposite. I think that you should toughen up maybe. Like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't bother me if someone says, if I see a thumbnail that says Destiny is dying, I'm not like, well, my day's ruined now, you know? Like, just say what you genuinely feel. Like, be like, I genuinely think that Destiny is in a bad place. And I think that Bungie sucks right now, you know? I don't think that you need to be silent because you don't want to put negative energy out there. I do think that, you know, if your whole day is filled with just shitting on Destiny, shitting on other games, and you know, maybe that is a you thing where you're very, maybe you could be overtly a negative person or something, have some problems with that. But I don't know. I'm not here to give you a fucking counseling lesson or anything. I think that more people should just handle the criticism and understand that we should never say less. We should always speak our minds as much as possible and be genuine when we do so, because Bungie will see that feedback. They have algorithms and systems set in place where they're tapped into all social media. They can see how many negative tweets are posted, you know? And so they can really gauge the room and realize like, ah, we're in a really bad situation right now. Or, you know, there's a certain norm where, you know, today there was, you know, 10,000 negative tweets and 5,000 positive or something. I don't know. You got to figure it out, right? And so I think that everyone should always express their opinions. And that's just the awesome, beautiful part about freedom of speech. Say whatever you like, say whatever you feel. Be genuine about it though, which that would be the the bit that I would add on to the end of this is that if you are going to say a video like this is bad or Destiny is dying or Bungie is, I don't know, if you want to say Bungie is trash or something, I guess you're more than entitled to say that, but you know, make sure you genuinely do believe it, because I think that doing it in a disingenuine way is definitely doing people a disservice. But sometimes companies do need to be told that they're trash. And it sounds a bit harsh, you know, like, well, that's so negative, so toxic. But like sometimes they need to hear that. And you're like, damn, you guys think we're trash? Like, fuck, we really got to fix something, you know? Like to just say that that's not a valid criticism or a valid thing to just say about a company or about a particular product is just, it's just wrong. Like, it's innately wrong because there are products that are trash. Like, I'm sure you've bought something before, you know, any type of product for anything you've ever bought out there, and you've bought some real trash and you've been like, this was a fucking waste of money, you know? And you don't need to be positive about it. You just need to be honest, like that was some trash, you know? So I don't mind his video. He's allowed to have his opinion, but I think that others are going to continue to have their opinions that they do. And I don't think this changes much, but it is interesting to see, I guess, maybe a different perspective. So that's all I'll say about that.